Born in 1919, before women had the right to vote, Louise Ballerstedt, a farm girl from Maynard, Texas, displayed her strong character and determination at an early age. Graduating valedictorian from Austin High School in 1936, she became the first in her family to go on to college. After college, she accepted a Rockefeller grant at the National Institute of Public Affairs in Washington, D.C., and garnered the distinction of becoming the first woman from Texas to be chosen for an internship in the national government. In 1941, while working for the National Youth Administration in Austin, she met her husband, Greer Raggio, but the war would soon separate them. With Greer serving overseas in the Pacific, Louise, now a new mother, stayed active working as a teacher and president of the League of Women Voters. After the war, Louise and Greer moved to Dallas with their 2 sons. As a way to secure a better job, Louise enrolled at SMU School of Law, taking night classes while Greer took care of the boys. Louise was the only woman in the graduating law class of 1952, and following graduation was told there were few, if any, prospects for employment.
SMU Employment Bureau didn't even send me out because they said it would be unkind for me to go to these law firms and be turned down one after another.
For 2 years, she practiced law from her home with Greer, also an attorney. Then, in 1954, she got a call from Dallas District Court Judge Sarah T. Hughes.
Let's go down to see Henry Wade. He may have an opening. So I got myself fixed up and went down, and he hired me. He told me a year later that the only reason he hired me, he figured I would fall flat on my face, and he wouldn't have to listen to Sarah Hughes anymore. He didn't realize that a woman could do the job.
A year later, she was assigned to the county criminal court. Her appointment made headlines as the first woman prosecutor in Dallas County. But it was her dedication that women be equal with men under Texas law that led her to work on what would later be known as the Marital Property Act of 1967.
Texas had particularly bad discriminatory laws concerning married women. When a woman married, she lost all the control of the property, even the property she had at the beginning of marriage. The husband and wife were one, and he was the one.
Directing a task force of attorneys, Louise would take a major part in revising the marital property laws.
In my ignorance, I thought this could be done, a weekend, we could straighten all this out. Was I ever wrong? It took 2 years with the best legal minds in Texas.
Included in this task force of attorneys was SMU Dedman School of Law's Professor Joe McKnight. From 1964 onward, Louise, Joe, and the rest of the team worked tirelessly to draft the legislation that would ultimately shape family law in Texas. The revised marital property laws went into effect on January 1, 1968, and almost immediately after its passage, Louise began working on an even more monumental task: the Texas Family Code. Continuing to work with SMU School of Law, by the spring of 1966, the Family Code Project was established at the law school with Professor Joe McKnight as its director. Completed by 1979, the Texas Family Code was the first fully codified set of family laws in the world. Streamlining marriage, family, and divorce laws, it had been scattered in over 50 volumes of law books. It became a model of excellence to modernize family laws across the country.
I still run into people who my mother represented many, many years ago, and they will tell me as to how my mother's advice and representation changed their lives for the better, and that they to this day are very appreciative for who she was and how she impacted their lives.
Over the years, her efforts on behalf of women's rights and family law reform gave her the title as the Mother of Family Law. The Louise Raggio Lecture Series in Women's Studies was created at Southern Methodist University in 1977 in her honor. Notable speakers from the series included figures such as Gloria Steinem in 1998 and Ann Richards, a longtime friend of Louise's, in 2003.
Many people have told me stories since Louise's death about her effect on them and on the community. One investment banker friend summarized Louise as follows: "She was electric and inspirational. She moved people even when you didn't agree with her." He was right.
Now, in 2011, Louise B. Raggio Endowed Lecture Series has a new home at SMU's Dedman School of Law, with Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsberg as its inaugural speaker. In 1967, the State Bar honored Louise with its highest award for her work on the Marital Property Act. She also received the prestigious Margaret Brent Women's Lawyers of Achievement Award in 1995 and the Texas Trailblazer Award in 1997. More recently, in 2011, the Louise B. Raggio ABA Legacy Award was created by the American Bar Association in her name to honor individuals who have made significant contributions to the development of family law.
At the time, as a family, we never dreamed of the impact our mother's work would have on revolutionizing Texas family law, especially how it reached a national audience. Before all this work was done, married women had about the same rights as children in Texas because the laws hadn't been revised in over 100 years. Texas went from having some of the worst laws before the Marital Property Act and the Family Code to having some of the best in the country.
I had no idea that I would become a lawyer or that I would have any part in changing the laws in Texas. I tell students that there are opportunities out there, and you don't have to be smart, you don't have to be rich, you don't have to be beautiful. You just have to see something that needs to be done and then do it. And I'd like to sort of pass the torch that I've been carrying for about 50 years, pass it on to each one of you, and encourage you to figure out what you can do to make this a better country. And bless you on your way.
There's one rule in this family, and it's that you can't be grandma. Grandma was grandma, and so you know, if you're going to try and have an impact like she did, you have to make it your own way.